It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. This video is about why I put it in and how I got to this point right now where I'm taking it out, or where I have already taken it out today at the doctor's office. So keep watching. If you have any questions, hopefully I can answer some. If not in the video, definitely in the description box. I am not a healthcare professional, so please keep that in mind. I'm just sharing my experience today with you guys. All right, so yeah, I wanted my marriage to be smooth going. If I could limit the amount of surprises, especially financial surprises, that was definitely going to be one of them. So I got the implant and no issues. A lot of people said that their implant caused them to have cycles that were very heavy and long. I already had really bad cramps. I had really bad bleeding, heavy bleeding. And so I was not really concerned about it getting worse. Because it was already pretty bad, to the point where some cycles I would just pass out because the pain, my body would just kind of give up on me. So fast forward to about, actually no fast forwarding. I actually ended up gaining weight like immediately. I noticed I gained weight. But by this time, I had already bought the dress like 3 months before the wedding. I ended up gaining weight. I noticed it. I needed to fit in my dress still. So I busted my butt in the gym, lost the weight, ended up being too small for my dress. By August, we were back at the house where we are now in Mississippi. And that's pretty much when the weight gaining started. I noticed I was getting thicker while we were in Wales because my clothes kind of didn't fit. And keep in mind, I had just got married in May 25th, and I just got the implant like February, March. So this is like pretty quick. I don't really care about telling my weight. I was approximately about 145, fluctuating 5 pounds here and there. But because of the wedding, I actually dropped about 5 pounds. So I was about 140, but I needed to be at 145 so that the dress wouldn't drop. So about 145 is where I was at. I am currently at 170 pounds. Towards last fall of 2019, I just realized some mood changes. I was not as happy. I wasn't as go-lucky. Definitely feeling very short with my husband. And part of me was like, oh, this is just me adjusting to having to live with someone permanently, you know? First year jitters, first year reactions, whatever. But then about December, I noticed, I was like, okay, I'm in love with this man and I treat him like crap. And there's no explanation. Like, this is not making any sense. It really was me. Like, I was the problem. It wasn't him, it was me. By January of 2020, I had about put on, well, I was about 160 by then. And for me, I've always been an athletic person. So that really was taking a toll on my appearance, on my everything. Because my motivation to work out was gone. I wasn't even necessarily eating more. I just was, it was like a failure to thrive kind of feeling is the best way I could describe it. Again, I thought it was a result of, being newly married, having to move to a new state that I've never lived in before, with the person I've never lived with before, starting a new journey and everything. And it wasn't until like February, March, that I was like, okay, so these emotions are a little different. I found myself being more depressed. I found myself being very just down. Again, I'm pretty happy most of the time. I'm corny. I'm silly. Like some of you guys have watched my videos, I'm really silly. But I just found myself being less silly and less happy. Sleep deprivation definitely was a factor. Insomnia was horrible, like just bad. My temper was short. I had insomnia really badly, to the point where I could pretty much go 2 days without sleeping. My sex drive was down. This is the time where people are like, oh man, you guys are married now. We know what you're about to be doing. And it's like, no, I'm just going to lay here and go to sleep. And it's not fair to my husband, all of these changes that I was going through. And so my friend hit me up and she was like, hey, how's Nexplanon for you? And by the way, that's what I have, Nexplanon. And I was like, it's okay. I mean, it keeps me from having kids. It never stopped my cycle, which was kind of something I was hoping it would do since my cycle is so bad, but never did that. It didn't make it worse necessarily, but I will say I observe that there are more clots during my menstrual cycle, like during my bleeding period, during the time that I am bleeding. But outside of that, there's nothing really noticeable. Oh no, my cramps last longer. So initially my cramps would only last for the first day of my bleeding, but on the birth control, on this particular birth control, I would have cramps for the first, second, third, and sometimes the fourth day of my bleeding. So that was just kind of a lot. Also, just so you guys know, my bleeding time is usually from 7 to 10 days. So, and that's just normal without the birth control. With the birth control, it didn't change. So that's just that. It did help regulate it though. It became more regular, like it's starting on this day, it's stopping on that day. So she asked me all those questions and I told her everything I just told you guys. Then she asked me, hey, so have you felt emotionally different? And it wasn't until she asked me that I was like, yo, it's the birth control. Like, duh, the hormones, it's the birth control. And then I told her, I was like, yeah, I've been feeling down, I've been feeling depressed, and it just, everything started clicking. Like, what? So then I Googled it. Of course I Googled it because I Google everything. And a lot of people were writing reviews that they felt depressed, they became suicidal, and that's not normally their temperament, you know, and just all these things. And I was just like, you know what? This is not worth it. If God wants me to have a kid, who am I to interfere? It is July 8th when I'm making this video, just so you guys know. So we're in the month of July. I talked to my friend about 2 weeks ago. And she also asked me like, hey, how's the birth control going? Yada, yada, yada. And something in me just opened up to her. Like, again, it's my best friend. So of course I'm going to open up. But I had not told anyone this up until I told her that day. I was like, you know what, Danny? Lately I've been feeling very suicidal. Like, even driving, because I was on the phone with her. And I got to my destination, and as I was talking to her on the phone, little voices are just like, hey, just drive your car off the cliff. Just drive your car into incoming traffic. And again, I have never been suicidal in my life. And those are very scary thoughts, to the point where I almost would be scared getting into the car, because if I found myself like tired going to class or anything, I would just see myself drift the car. And not because I'm so sleepy, but just because I'm too tired to talk those voices down. Does that make any sense? I'm really hoping that's making sense. So, and I was telling her all this in a joking manner, because it was one of my up days. I was happy. I was like, girl, listen. So like, I be feeling like driving my car off the cliff. And she's like, what? She's like, Haley, yeah. So, and just after I got off the phone with her, I was like, yo, that's the weirdest crap to say somebody just in common conversation. Like, Haley, you've got to get this thing out of your arm. Thankfully, by this time, I had already scheduled my appointment, and it was just ready to go. So at this point, I am anxious. I'm ready to get this thing out of my arm. These emotional changes are just too much. About 2-3 days before it's time to get it out. So a week before it's time to get it out, I'm like 2 days from my cycle ending, and I'm just completely apathetic. That's the best way I can describe my moods. Like, I don't care. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. I don't care. I just don't care. Like, I could just lay here and stare at the wall, and I'd give two craps about it, because, again, I don't care. Oh, I have a test tomorrow? Cool. Why would I study for that? Which is completely self-sabotaging for a person who's trying to excel in life. So it was just like, God, please. And I start diligently praying in our worship time, but also like by myself, like, Jesus, please, 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 please help me. Just help me through this, because I just need to make it to the day. If I can just make it to the day where it comes out, I can make it. Like, I know I can make it. Just please let me make it to the day where this thing gets ripped out of my arm, okay? So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at now. I just got it taken out of my arm. I'm going to do another video about how the procedure went and all that good stuff. But don't worry, it's nothing creepy and scary. But it is something that, you know, it's good to know. Just a couple things here and there, nothing serious. But that's just my experience with Nexplanon so far. So please, I would encourage you, if you are going to get the implant, or honestly any birth control, please understand the risks. It irritates me that we live in a society that promotes birth control when we know that hormonal changes not only affect you physically, but affect you mentally. Like, weight gain is a psychological battle you have to overcome. It's no reason why girls starve themselves, why girls overeat, like, or men as well, but women specifically, because we're talking about female hormones here. It just, it's scary for me that we have an industry that is okay with giving women these hormones and knowing the side effects and still being like, yeah, it's harmless. It's up to you. Learn your body, but please understand that you are weighing the pros and the cons of everything down to your mental stability, because I've never felt so mentally unstable than the past month. Like, the month of June was so rough for me. And I can definitely attribute it to the implant. Be cognitive of the changes that your body is going through, because in the beginning I never noticed anything, you know, and then a year and a half later is just like, oh hell no, this thing getting out my arm, you know what I'm saying? So even though at the beginning of taking something it might not be bad, just watch how your body progresses and have someone else that can help you watch yourself through these times, because I never really would have noticed if my friends didn't check up on me. And for anyone who already struggles with mental stability or image issue when it comes to weight gain, it's not worth it for you either, sis. Trust me. Look at me. If you feel like you're going crazy, you probably are. Take it out, okay? See you next time.